Hello! Hi, welcome back to our vlog.
What's up, guys?
We just went on another hike. Actually, quite the adventure. For Alfonso's birthday, we went up to Mount Rainier.
A little bit of a road trip, actually.
A little bit of a road trip.
Yeah, not too far, but...
It's about like 2 hours away from Portland. You're gonna go north. It's in Washington. Mount Rainier, I think its base is about 2 hours away, would you say?
Yeah, probably about.
From Portland.
And then, I mean, you could spend more time circling around the whole mountain, but just to get there,
yeah,
it was probably about between 2.5 hours. And we actually stayed somewhere overnight before we actually got to Rainier. So we drove up through Washington all the way to Silver Creek, which was honestly so beautiful, and the drive there was incredible. Like a lot more. Washington is definitely a lot more green than some parts of Oregon, I would say.
Well, what we've seen of Portland's pretty city. So we go to Washington a bit, and it's going a little more rural. And then it's forest. It's pretty much all forest.
Yeah.
So it's pretty great. It's definitely a different type of...
A vibe out there.
A vibe out there.
For sure, yeah.
I love it. It's pretty great.
And our first stop that we made was towards Silver Lake. And... We found a really short trail up
like a nature path.
Yeah, like a nature path, probably. So we stopped there and wanted to check out what was around there. So we found a short little nature path, and right as we were on it, it actually started to rain. We
had a feeling it was going to be pretty rainy this weekend, which was unfortunate because the week after it was going to be sunny and shiny and bright. So we did experience some rain this weekend. The first day was pretty light.
Pretty mellow, yeah. Not heavy rain at all.
So when we started off that nature path, we hit some rain, but luckily there was the Mount St. Helens Visitor Center there. So we went inside, we walked around, and we learned a lot about Mount St. Helens and what happened there, which was pretty interesting. I actually did not know too much about that event.
Yeah. It was recent too, like
1980s?
Yeah, 1980s. So we stayed in the visitor center. It was like a little museum, kind of check that out until the rain stopped, and then as soon as it stopped, we head outside, and once the rain stopped, it was absolutely beautiful. It was so sunny, and we were like walking on this nature path that was like in the middle of like a marsh, like kind of wetland, and
part of the lake, part of Silver Lake.
Right, and it was so humid but nice and sunny, and you just smell the fresh air after the rain, and it was awesome. So I don't think it rained again after that.
Nope, not that day.
And the creek was just filled with a giant lily pads.
Oh, lily pads were insane.
They were just covering the whole creek.
Were gorgeous. Yeah, and they had these really unique flowers to them.
Yeah, like it looked like a yellow. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
with like a red. Did they have red in it?
A little orangey red.
Yeah, it was pretty beautiful, and the weather was great. It had to be like maybe 65 degrees with sun, and it was amazing. You could hear all the birds and the frogs, and see all the dragonflies flying by. It was beautiful, and it was only about.
Oh yeah, you were gonna say about like half a mile.
Yeah,
it was only about like half a mile. This little loop. And half of that was on, or actually a little more than that, was on these planks, this wooden bridge that went out into the marsh.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you mentioned that.
Yeah.
And it was super cool. So it was like you were a part of that marsh ecosystem, and they had different plaques set up to explain what you were seeing, the different animals you could possibly see. And I was on the hunt for a frog. I didn't see a frog.
You could hear them though.
You could hear them. And you can, there were so many birds and so many different unique birds that were just flying through there. So that was super cool. And really cool thing was once the path kind of turned into dirt, someone found something pretty cool.
Yeah, well actually, to be fair, she found something pretty cool. So we're walking straight down this path, and she yells, "Babe, babe."
No, and I yell, "Snake."
Oh yeah.
I go,
okay.
Snake, 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 snake.
Yeah, and I'm like, where? And I totally freaked out, and I did not see where she was pointing to. I just started looking around rather than actually looking at where she was pointing. I actually found it in the bush. You could see like the smallest slither of snake in there. And the second I find it, I dive straight for it.
Yeah.
And managed to catch it, and tries to bite me as I grab it, and then I let go, and then I managed to grab it once again. All right, guys, this, I'm sure as all of you know, is a garter snake. Really good size too. So So I've got about a 2-3 footer here. And just so you know, these guys are non-venomous, completely harmless. These guys are so cool though. Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that guy. There you go. See, he's not too bad.
Oh. You can just handle it.
Woo. Oh man, it's the first snake we've caught up here.
It is.
Yeah. Alright guys, I think we bothered this guy long enough. So we're just gonna let him go. We're right back where he was, alright?
But you always want to make sure that you identify the snake before you catch it.
Yeah, so she's right. Just to be clear, guys,
Yes.
if you're ever out hiking, especially anywhere along the West Coast, make sure you identify a snake before you actually dive in and catch it.
Right.
Because garter snakes are not the only snakes that are out here. You know, there are rattlesnakes all up and down the West Coast. Probably don't see them too much in the Pacific Northwest, but it's not impossible.
Right.
So just make sure you
Identify.
clearly identify a snake before you catch it, so you don't injure yourself or the snake, or risk getting envenomated by one that happens to be venomous. You know what? The one thing that was unfortunate about it was obviously it's a wild snake. So as soon as I caught it, it pooped all over my hands.
Musk.
Yeah, it musked all over my hands, which is a very common thing for them to do in the face of danger. You know, it's like a defense mechanism.
It smelled really bad.
Smells really
so
bad, yeah. And I swear I washed my hands over 4 times with heavy soap. And I walk out and I'm just like holding my hands out and I'm like, it still smells like swamp all over my hands, like no matter what. So I couldn't help but just still smell it though.
Ew.
But yeah, I had that smell on my hands literally all day. Yeah, so that was definitely the highlight of that little
nature path. We
nature
really
path.
took our time around there, and I love just seeing that whole ecosystem of the marsh. Marshes are great.
Oh, yeah, it was beautiful.
You can see all different types of animals.
Very peaceful, very zen.
peaceful. And you can see off, you know, it was a little cloudy, that's why we couldn't see Mount St. Helens.
Right,
But
yeah.
I think from that nature path, once you get out to those the planked part of the path, you could see Mount St. Helens.
Yeah.
Which would have been super cool, but it was a little cloudy at that point.
Right. And so that was pretty much all we did for the first day. What we were really looking forward to was an Airbnb we had booked not too far from there actually. And we booked a spot right on a property, and they had goats free roaming around the whole property, and it was the most amazing experience. And the second we saw it, we knew we had to book it.
Oh yeah.
Because you know we have a dream of raising goats eventually when we get our property. Yeah. And it was the most amazing experience.
This made us really want goats because it was so much fun. They're like dogs.
Yeah.
They're like dogs. They want to come around. They want to get treats. And they're all going to gather and try and jump on top of you for your treats that you have in the shaker. And if you shake it, they'll come to you.
Yeah, what a piggy.
He is a piggy. We got to bring him down here. You want some too, Baba? He wants a whole lot. Here. And it was so funny. We were running around this. It was a gorgeous property that they had. A little couple turned their farm, or it's more of like an animal sanctuary. She turned it into an Airbnb. She put in a little tiny house, and so we had the whole property to run around with these goats and sheep. There's a couple sheep, one longhorn sheep.
Yeah.
a couple other little sheep, one black sheep, super cute. They were more skittish. They did not really want anything.
No,
to do
I don't
with
think one of them even bothered to get close to
No,
us.
you fed one.
Oh, you know what?
You fed.
I stand corrected.
You fed the longhorn
I managed
sheep.
to feed
He
the
was
longhorn
more-
sheep,
He was more curious.
but that did not last. As soon as he ate, he just ran off. Yeah,
I'm off.
he's like, I'm off. But it was great. There were goats everywhere. They had chickens.
Yes.
They had disc golf.
Owner, she brought out bocce ball for us to play too.
Right, yeah.
So we were playing a couple rounds of bocce ball and
Yeah.
disc golf. So we're just outside playing with goats and playing a bunch of games. So it was a lot of fun. The Airbnb was so cute.
Yeah.
So nice.
Super
so
small,
cute.
but very like, I don't
It
know.
was a tiny house.
Yeah, it was a tiny little house,
Yeah.
but the layout was incredible.
It was pretty perfect.
And what's funny is the owner gives you a list of warnings before you show up to the property.
Oh yeah.
Because one thing about the goats is they do not know boundaries whatsoever. I mean, just getting in and out of the car or going into the Airbnb, they were all
Right
up
there.
on you. Yeah, you had to close everything behind you. They warned, close doors behind you or goats will have a party. So we only stayed there one night. And then the next morning, we took advantage of the whole next morning. Checkout wasn't until 12. So, we stayed the whole morning. And then next item on the list was to head up to Mount Rainier. We drove to Rainier. It took us about an hour to get there. And we got there and it was still raining pretty good.
Mount Rainier, south of the mountain, there is a road that runs horizontal or east to west, the direction we came in from. And it's $30 per vehicle if you're gonna take a car. But you can hike into it. I think it's $10 a head. So
And the $30 like for covers a whole week,
a whole
right?
week. Yes. And so we were like, let's do it. And we drove in, and the drive was amazing.
Oh, it was incredible.
Very well kept, of course.
Yeah, and like you're going down the road before you head into Rainier, and the trees are just on each side of the road are just so tall. It's like you're driving through this valley of trees, and it's honestly the most beautiful thing. With the rain, honestly, it was super nice.
It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
We really didn't mind the rain. We've kind of gotten not used to it, but we've gotten
I can tolerate it.
we can tolerate it. We've
it.
grown a tolerance for the rain. If it rained any harder, it's definitely going to be unsafe to hike in.
Yeah.
And we didn't choose long trails for that reason. We kind of stuck to just driving around, going through there, and then we pulled off to the side. There's plenty of places to pull off to the side and see whatever trail there is that you can find. This one was called Twin Firs Loop Trail, and it was super small. I think that one was still...
Maybe like a mile and a half, maybe not even that.
Oh,
like,
I don't even know if it was a mile.
Yeah.
But it was just a little loop going through and just kind of showcasing the super tall trees, and we really need to learn the names of these trees.
Yeah.
Like this tree, that tree, well, what tree? And we were just so And with the rain too, all the mushrooms were growing on
Yeah,
sides of
it was really
cut
cool.
down the fallen down trees, and there's little streams that were trickling by. And when it does rain all the time, there's waterfalls everywhere.
Everywhere.
So you can see just trickles of water coming down large rocks.
Yeah, or the sides of the mountain right there. So that Twin Firs Loop Trail was short. It was nice, and we didn't quite get our fill in just yet. So we drove up a little more, and we managed to pull off to the side, right off the side of this riverbed.
Yeah, there was a clearing that we can see from the road.
Mm-hmm.
I was super curious, and we got on it's this riverbed. The water level was super low, so there was only like a small stream off to the side. But I'm sure once all the snow melts on Mount Rainier, that fills up.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of went down there and explored, and since it had been sprinkling all day, the rocks were so colorful.
Oh yeah,
so vibrant.
Yeah. All different types of colors.
So many different colors, and I think you can only really see that if the rocks are wet, because you wash rocks, it cleans off the dust.
Yeah.
So the rocks were outstanding in this riverbed, and so we had to explore it.
Yeah, there was no real path though. Honestly, you kind of had to make your own, snaking through the rocks.
It was all sandy and it was all rocks. But then you walk past this little field of rocks, and then there's this bright stream.
Blue. Yeah. It felt so amazing. The fresh air was just incredible.
Oh, it was cold.
And yeah, it was super
but
cold.
That felt pretty nice.
Red. And at that point I think we decided to call it.
Out.
Yeah, we decided to tap out. Yeah, let's go. And so then for that night we actually stayed at a Airbnb right outside of the entrance of Mount Rainier.
Right.
Which was
what was it called? It was called.
It was in. I don't remember what it was called. It was in Ashford.
Ashburn?
Ashford.
Ooh.
Ashford. I guess that's what the town is called.
Yes.
Yeah, tiny little.
Ashford Lodge. It was like.
Yeah, it was Ashford. You know what? That's right. It was literally named after the town. Yeah, and it said lodge.
Ashford Lodge.
Yeah, which was a nice little spot. It was.
Nice.
Yeah, it was.
It was decorated like a cabin.
Yeah, it was decorated like kind of very warmy feeling.
Super warm. There was a fireplace.
Yeah, and then we played
nice and toasty
a little Jenga.
Played some Jenga. There's no TV in there.
No, there was no TV in there. Felt like a caveman.
We had to resort to Jenga.
Right.
And a deck of cards.
Anyways, so the next day was my actual birthday, right?
Yeah, that was your birthday.
Yeah, the next day was my actual birthday.
Yep. So we drove back up Mount Rainier for a bit.
Right, and we weren't sure what exactly we were gonna do. If we were gonna do like a long hike or a short hike, because it was still raining a little bit. So
it was off and on. It was way less than the day before.
Yeah. So we drove up there just kind of, I guess, not really expecting to do anything specific. We were just gonna drive through and see what we could find, which honestly turned out to be the best thing to do, because we made like 4 or 5 different stops.
Yeah.
And just kept winding, driving straight up to the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
And as you go higher and higher, there was actually snow covering everything.
Like on the side of the road, and I'm sure the snowplow contributes to this, but it was stacked high, like still 3-4 feet high of snow. And so we pulled over, and we saw this really cool lake. We saw a reflection lake, and that was awesome. I've never seen a frozen lake before.
Right. Yeah, neither. In person, yeah.
Never. I don't think I've seen a fully froze over lake.
And not only that, but in June. A frozen lake in June.
On your birthday.
But
have you ever experienced snow on your birthday?
No, and I never thought I would. But it was beautiful. Like the snow was pure white, just covering the mountain. And honestly, I wouldn't even say it was freezing cold. It's just the accumulation of rain and how high in elevation we were. Just everything was just covered in snow, and it was honestly so beautiful. Yeah. And at one point we couldn't go any further because they actually closed down the road. So
we turned back and we stopped on the road again, and we saw Louise Lake. That was another froze over lake, and you can see from where the road was straight down, and it just looked gorgeous, this view of this other lake. And then on our way back, we stopped coming down the mountain. So past the snow, coming back, there's no more snow, and there is there is more snow.
Yeah, there was a lot of snow. It was
just a little bit at
Right.
this point. We stopped at Narada Falls. I think that's how you
Right.
pronounce it. Narada Falls.
Yeah, which is one of the more touristy areas of Mount Rainier,
there's
I guess.
quite a few people.
Yeah, because there was a big parking lot. There was a good amount of people there, and you can't even see the falls when you first pull up. You're like,
No.
where are they? And then
What is it? What are people gathering
Yeah,
here for?
exactly.
What is there to see?
but after you park, there's a ledge, and you look over it, and you're actually on top of the waterfall. So we had to do a mini hike, kind of going down.
Yes. And there was a snowy, part of the path was covered in snow.
Yeah,
So you had to walk over the snow.
and it was like a slope, so you kind of had to really be careful and dig your feet in the
have to be
snows.
careful.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. The waterfall was gorgeous.
Yeah.
It was definitely worth it, worth that extra stop.
And that was our last stop on the Mount Rainier road trip, which honestly was one of the best, most beautiful birthdays I've ever had, and I'm just so grateful that I got to experience that. And
One for the books.
definitely,
And we are actually really excited to head back to Mount Rainier when it's not raining.
Right.
And when it's a clear day to go on longer hikes and to see what that is. So we're definitely gonna have that for future plans.
yeah, and we'll make sure to share that with you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for watching.
And make sure you also follow us on TikTok at Marvelous Reptiles. We'll put the link down in the comments. Check out our Instagram as well at Marvelous Reptiles. Don't forget to subscribe. We really appreciate it, and we hope to continue sharing all of our adventures with you guys and keeping you up to date on the beauty of the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah. Bye.